War is one of the most destructive forces known to mankind. It not only destroys human lives, but also has a deep impact on the environment, infrastructure, and economies of the countries at war. One of the most significant impacts of war is on the global food supply. In this video, we will explore how war affects global food supply. In times of war, the focus is often on the direct impact of conflict on people, such as injuries and loss of life. However, it is important to remember that war has far-reaching consequences beyond these immediate effects. One often overlooked consequence of war is its impact on the global food supply. Food production and distribution systems can be disrupted by war, leading to shortages and higher prices that affect people far beyond the conflict zone. For example, in many parts of the world, food imports are a critical component of the food supply, and conflicts can disrupt the supply chain, leading to food shortages and rising prices. So, we need to acknowledge the global impact of war on food security as well, and explore ways to address this issue. Food production in war-torn areas. One of the most significant impacts of war is on the areas where the conflict is taking place. Farmers and other food producers in these areas are often forced to flee their homes or are killed, which can lead to a complete collapse of food production in these regions. As the violence escalates and communities are displaced, the once fertile lands become barren and untended. The absence of skilled farmers and their knowledge of cultivation techniques not only results in decreased food output, but also disrupts the centuries-old agricultural traditions passed down from generation to generation. Moreover, the destruction of essential agricultural infrastructure such as irrigation systems, storage facilities, and machinery further exacerbates the food crisis. The immediate consequence is the scarcity of staple crops, causing a surge in prices, leaving the vulnerable populations struggling to afford basic nourishment. In such war-torn areas, the loss of food production not only affects the local population, but also has severe consequences for neighboring regions and can even trigger wider regional food security issues, as the disrupted supply chains impact the availability and affordability of food on a larger scale. Thus, the devastating impacts of war on food production in conflict areas extend far beyond the immediate consequences, leaving a long-lasting impact on the ability of communities to sustain themselves and recover from the turmoil of war disruption in food distribution. In addition to the significant impact on local food production, the consequences of war extend to the disruption of food distribution channels as well. When conflicts arise, roads and other essential infrastructure crucial for transporting food supplies are often destroyed or rendered too dangerous to navigate. This creates a dire situation wherein food scarcity becomes prevalent within the region. The destruction of transportation routes, such as highways or bridges, hinders the seamless delivery of provisions from farms to markets or from distribution centers to consumers. As a result, the already limited food resources become even more inaccessible, exacerbating the shortage and intensifying the suffering of the affected population. The consequences of war, therefore, extend far beyond the immediate destruction of villages and farmlands, rippling throughout the entire food supply chain and further intensifying the burden on the already distressed communities. Food prices during wartime. During times of war, the impact of rising food prices is particularly devastating for people living in conflict zones. As the demand for food surges and supply dwindles due to the disruption of agriculture and trade, the prices of basic food items skyrocket to unprecedented levels. This phenomenon leaves already vulnerable populations trapped in a cycle of poverty and hunger, unable to afford the sustenance they so desperately need for survival. Families struggle to secure even the most basic ingredients, and children often bear the brunt of these severe shortages, facing malnutrition and the risk of lifelong health complications. The exorbitant prices make it virtually impossible for those living in war-torn areas to access adequate nourishment, exacerbating the hardships caused by the conflict itself. As the world watches these societies strain under the weight of war, it becomes crucial for international organizations and humanitarian aid agencies to address the urgent need for food security in crisis zones, ensuring the most vulnerable receive the sustenance they require to survive amidst the chaos. Impact on global food supply. As much as war has local impacts, it also produces dire worldwide consequences. Disruption of food production and distribution is one aspect, among others, that can have devastating effects. For instance, when conflicts arise in countries that are food insecure, it exacerbates the already dire situation, increasing the number of people in need of food aid and assistance. Even in regions that are food secure, Disruptions to food production have a ripple effect felt worldwide. Mass migration from war-torn areas can lead to food shortages in neighboring countries, which then impacts food availability and prices globally. Consequently, armed conflict can fuel hunger globally and lead to food insecurity, which in turn affects millions of people worldwide.